This is Share the Vision, presented by the Resource Center, a discussion of the programs and services of the Resource Center and about issues related to individuals with disabilities. Today we will do two shows in one. We begin at the Felice Corporate Center on Fairmount Avenue at 6th Street in Jamestown. First on Share the Vision today, as always, Steve Watterson, the Community Relations Director at the Resource Center. Steve, good morning.
Hi, Dennis. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Now let's explain to the listeners what we are going to do on Share the Vision today, because we begin here with a specific purpose.
We're going to be promoting two events that will be taking place the first week in May. And the first event we're going to promote is a celebration of Laurel Hotellings' life, and that's going to be taking place on Sunday, May 6th. And then the latter part of our show will dedicate to talking about some of the activities taking place during Suicide Prevention Week.
As we begin here at the Felice Corporate Center, we have Wayne and Elaine Hotelling ready to be on microphone, and Brian Samuelson, one of the members of the Laurel Run Organizing Committee, also ready to join us. Wayne Hotelling, welcome back to Share the Vision. Great to see you and Elaine once again.
Thank you very much, Dennis. We're glad to be here.
What will the celebration of Laurel's life be?
The celebration of Laurel's life, she passed away in November of last year, and with the weather and families coming in from all over the United States, her siblings, we just didn't have the time that we felt we needed to share with the community Laurel's life. So we had waited until spring, which hasn't come yet. But what we wanted to do was to give people a chance to come in and to share their memories and their thoughts of Laurel. So what we are planning on doing is having the 6th of May in Silver Creek, New York, at the Fireman's Clubhouse on Jackson Street, sharing of memories and stories of people who had contact with Laurel, or those who had met her. She had a great impact, I think, on the lives of many in the Chautauqua area and throughout the United States as we traveled and crossed over. And we would just like to have people, if they would, come and join us. We are going to be at the Fireman's Clubhouse from 2 until 6 on May 6th, there in Silver Creek, New York. If you're coming up from Jamestown and you come in on Route 20, just go to the light downtown, turn left, and then you'll just keep going until you get to the point where you can see Tops Market. And before you get there, it's Jackson Street. You turn right there, and then you go down towards the lake, and you'll see the Fireman's Clubhouse on the right-hand side. But we just like people to come, spend some time sharing their stories with Elaine and I and other members of the community, and they can come and go as they please. There'll be finger foods there. We have a disc jockey that will be playing the music that Laurel liked and enjoyed. And we are also going to have a continual loop being played of pictures of Laurel from the time that she was a baby until she passed away.
So this is not an occasion where people need to arrive at a certain time or have a particular oration set to go. That you just want people to come there and express themselves to you and to Elaine and to others who are there.
And just to share with others, too. I mean, I think that she had such an impact on us, and I know on the neighborhood in which she was brought up, and she has affected many, many lives, I think, throughout the area here. So we just would like to have people share with us what it was that Laurel did for them in their life. We received 2 poems about Laurel after she had passed away, and one was by the supervisor that had worked with her in the work center there in Dunkirk, and another was by a young lady who was her Sunday school teacher and Bible school teacher, and they are beautiful. We'll have those there, and we'll have collages, pictures also around of Laurel and her friends at the Resource Center.
I want to give you a moment to swing that microphone over to Elaine, just to have her add anything that she would like about this celebration, or where the Hotelling family is now in your grief and your rebuilding of your lives after Laurel's passing. Elaine, thanks for spending a minute on the air with us.
I was thinking about the celebration for Laurel's life. We're hoping that people will bring memories that they can share. And if they want to do it orally, that's fine. But we would like to also, if they would go ahead and write it out on paper. That way we can make up a notebook and have that to keep for our memories later, where it's hard to remember what people say if we just listen to it. So it'd be nice if they could write it out. And then sometimes, even if you can't come that day, if you have some memories you'd like to write out and send them to us, we'd be glad to have those also that we could add to our memory books.
And what's the best way for people to do that? Via regular mail? Or
I think regular mail probably, even though we have our website it's on the cards that we have, and it's in our advertisings usually. Our website is there, so they could be sent that way, too, even though some of that goes through the Resource Center and might make it a little bit more confusing for them to have to relay it to us, so it might be just easier to do it through the mail.
Is there a street address or post office box you'd like to give?
The street address is 72 Main Street, right in Silver Creek.
72 Main Street, and if they just address this to the Hotelling family?
Yes, and in fact, I'm sure that in Silver Creek, if you just put Hotelling Silver Creek, we're going to get it. we will get letters that say, "Dear Grandma," and there it is. And they seem to know where we live.
Well, bless the Postal Service for being able to maintain that level of coverage for you. Brian Samuelson, one of the members of the Laurel Run Organizing Committee, is in the conference room. Brian, nice to see you again.
Nice seeing you again.
How you been?
Very good, thank you.
So, Brian, you've been a deeply committed man to Laurel Run for many years. There's another one coming up later in July of this year, the first one for which Laurel cannot come.
I met Laurel down to the John Gibbard. I forget how many years it is.
Long time.
Long time ago. And I've been then there wasn't vacancy. It was on the board, and I took the board on the border to walk upon, and I've been on it ever since then.
So, you miss Laurel?
Very much so. She and me got very, very close together. We have gotten I got very close to her up until she passed away.
So, Brian, how do you feel about having a Laurel Run this year without Laurel? Tell me about your feelings, your emotions.
Well, I'm doing this year, the kickoff of the walk-up. I'm doing the memory of her. I'm doing the memory of her. I'm doing the memory of her. The kickoff of the walk-up. Then I'll be passing out all the medals, taking her place of the medal award.
And Brian and I talk just about every day, and most days he mentions to me how Laurel Run's just not going to be the same this year without Laurel.
Well, and I think that's going to be true for everybody who's participated in the past, everybody who has come to know Laurel and her legacy. But I think probably, on the other hand, it's important that you continue the event, the publicity for the event, so that even though we have lost Laurel, her legacy will live on. The valuable funds that Laurel Run raises for a number of different projects at the Resource Center, helping persons with disabilities, will not be diminished, but will be perhaps expanded, perhaps can grow in the future. When is this year's Laurel Run, Steve?
July 20th and 21st.
20th, of course, and just down the street here. We were talking about it before we got on the air today. The kickoff will happen at the Raymond Building for the run to Dunkirk.
Yep.
And then have you added anything or changed anything as a result of the special characteristics of this year?
Not yet, but it's still early. You never know what we'll come up with.
So, in other words, the regular Laurel Run schedule will run with
right.
with the Friday, I don't want to say run again, relay to Dunkirk, and then all the other events, including Laurel's lap on Saturday at Silver Creek.
Correct.
Registration already available?
Yes. You can go online to the laurel-run.com and start to register. We'll have some forms out here pretty soon as well.
And to what project or projects do the proceeds from Laurel Run go to?
Money initially comes to Filling the Gap, which is a not-for-profit organization that works with the Resource Center to improve people's lives in Chautauqua County. And then the money goes to the Laurel Run Fund at the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation. And it's targeted toward improving employment and work training opportunities for people with disabilities, having the money go toward disability prevention initiatives, so things like that. It's kind of widespread.
Wayne, I know you are a contemplative man and someone who puts a lot of thought into everything that you do. As you approach this year's Laurel Run and the celebration of the legacy of Laurel's life on the 6th of May at Silver Creek, what are your thoughts, your feelings in terms of things that you would like to do, or maybe just feelings you'd like to express?
Well, I'd like to first express on behalf of Elaine and myself the thanks for all of the cards and the visitation that took place back in November. And we were just overrun by the amount of cards that we got and the number of people that came through there in the visitation period. And then later, even out in the community, people stopped us, and they didn't know us, but they recognized us, and they gave us their condolences. But I think more than anything else, the thing that Elaine and I realize now is there is a vacancy now that was always with us for almost 55 years. And we're seeing and we're feeling very positive about what's going on now, but there is a difference from what it was like before. But we know what was accomplished by our daughter, and with the aid of the Resource Center and the staff that worked there and everyone that got to know Laurel, that it's a very positive thing that will carry on with us, and I think many people will also that met her.
Two things before the time in the first half of this Share the Vision program is exhausted. One, for those who may not be aware, and you mentioned Laurel's age at 54 when she left us last November. She had Down syndrome her entire life. You made some very powerful, positive decisions very early in her life to include her in your family and in the culture and in the community in every way that you could, and the result was a life that was worthy of celebration in terms of what she accomplished, her leadership, her inspiration.
Her courage that she showed in the latter months and even years before when she was in the hospital for extended times was amazing. And she was such a positive person and such an active, joyful, happy individual that she made our lives just fantastic. I mean, it's all right with her two sisters and brother who followed after her. She was our first. But they were just so supportive, and the entire neighborhood and community in accepting Laurel, and then what she was able to do and showing people, even though you have a disability, it's not something that's negative. It's something that you can use positively, which she did. And we're just very thankful that God gave us Laurel.
A celebration of Laurel Hotellings' life on Sunday, the 6th of May at the Fireman's Clubhouse in Silver Creek. The Hotellings warmly invite you there anytime between 2 and 6 p.m. If you would like to send a written remembrance in place of being there, send it to the Hotellings at 72 Main Street in Silver Creek. Wayne, Elaine, and Brian Samuelson, thank you for sharing the first half of this program with us today.
Thank you, Dennis.
For the second part of Share the Vision today, we have moved to the Dunham Avenue Administrative Offices of the Resource Center. Steve Watterson is with me, and we have a new set of guests here. Steve, what is the second part of our show going to be today?
We are going to be promoting an upcoming film on suicide prevention that the Resource Center is involved with some other local organizations in putting on this coming week.
We are privileged to have with us on Share the Vision for this part of the show 3 people who are deeply committed to suicide prevention, and they are Victoria Patty, who is the coordinator for the Community Alliance for Suicide Prevention. She is from Chautauqua County Mental Hygiene. We have Annie Rosenthal, who is the Public Relations Director for Chautauqua Tapestry, and Chris Anderson, who's Marketing and E-commerce Manager here at the Resource Center. Victoria, first, I think, welcome back to Share the Vision. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Dennis. Thank you so much for having us.
You emphasized before we opened the microphones here today that you want to tell the audience that you are focused on suicide prevention in Chautauqua County every hour of the day of the week, every week of the year, regardless.
Absolutely, Dennis. As we talked about before we started recording, that there are some people that do have struggles during the year more times than others, especially because of our weather patterns here and lack of vitamin D, and especially around the holidays. But the group that is sitting here with us today is really looking at making our efforts all year, not just during those hard times, not just during Suicide Prevention Month or Mental Health Awareness Month. We are looking at creating a program of events throughout the year that include things like trainings, awareness events. We're looking at decreasing the stigma around talking about mental health and suicide, and really letting general community members know that the more we talk about this, the more we can help people stay safe and let people reach out for resources and help.
Annie Rosenthal, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and you have one special event that you are focusing on, and the reason for your appearance on Share the Vision today is in part to promote this extraordinary event. Now, I've been giving some blind cues there. Annie Rosenthal, welcome back to Share the Vision. Please explain to the audience what I'm mumbling about here.
Hello, Dennis. Well, actually, we have 2 special events. On Wednesday, May 2nd at SUNY Fredonia, and on Thursday, May 3rd at JCC, Jamestown Community College. We'll be screening Suicide, the Ripple Effect. The documentary highlights the story of Kevin Hines, who at age 19 attempted to take his life by jumping from the Golden Gate Bridge. Today, Kevin is a world-renowned mental health advocate, motivational speaker, and author who travels the globe, speaking his message of hope, recovery, and wellness. And we will be screening his documentary in Chautauqua County for the first time on those 2 events. And we really wanted to have events in both North County and South County so everybody who is interested could have a chance to view the film.
Annie, let's get specific about exactly where and when these screenings will occur on May 2nd and May 3rd.
So on May 2nd, it's going to be at SUNY Fredonia, Kelly Auditorium. We will have refreshments at 3:30, and the film will start at 4:30. Following evening, on Thursday, May 3rd, it's going to be at JCC at the Sharman Theater. The refreshments that evening will be at 6 p.m., and the film will start promptly at 7 p.m.
Thank you for that. Let's get Chris Anderson in here on the discussion as well. As I said earlier, he's Marketing and E-commerce Manager here at the Resource Center. Chris, how did you get interested in the Suicide Prevention Coalition?
Well, it actually goes back a few years, Dennis. I think in previous shows we've alluded to the fact that we brought in Kevin for our TRC Symposium
I'm
event.
going to open up the discussion to him in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So from that, Victoria and I actually talked about trying to bring Kevin back to the community to give more of an impact to the entire community as opposed to just a small group. And we did that. We did that last year. We brought him in for a speaking engagement in Fredonia and a speaking engagement in Jamestown as well. And it was very well received, very well attended. And the next thing we looked at was bringing this documentary back to the community as well. This is something that's new. It gives a little more of a story of his entire life. He tells some of the story of his life in his presentations, but this really goes into a lot of detail. And I think people will enjoy the film, and it will make a big effect on some people as well.
I remember very clearly the first time that I met Kevin Hines and heard him speak at the TRC Symposium at Chautauqua Institution a couple of years ago, having no idea what to expect, and was absolutely floored by his presentation, what he said, and I choke up a little now even thinking about it, because it is such an extraordinary story. A man who attempted to take his own life on the Golden Gate Bridge, one of the few ever to survive, and as he describes the build-up to that event, remembers what happened as he was going down toward the water. The squid or whatever it was that he landed on, I can't remember, some living thing that kept him from going further down into the water. I mean, it is just so captivating. It's been years since I've heard the story, and it all comes back to me very, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing when you hear him talk. It's kind of, you just sit there and listen, and it's just an amazing story to hear. And we wanted to bring his full story back to the community and see how that goes from there. So
I'm happy to hear that this has been made into a movie, because though his personal appearances are exceptional, you can only do so many of them. This will allow the story to be told many, many more times. I want to get Victoria and Annie back in the conversation. I was kind of hogging the perceptions there of Kevin Hines from my own experience a couple of years ago. But anything you want to add about him and his story and why it is meaningful to you who work in the area of suicide prevention every day?
Sure. We actually had the pleasure of pre-screening the documentary. So we have seen it, and we all were touched in a variety of ways. Kevin makes you laugh, but he also makes you cry, and he really gives you a, like Chris had mentioned, more in-depth story about his life and his struggles with bipolar disorder. And as a young man, not knowing how to reach out for help and to say that he was struggling, and a lot of the behaviors that came with that struggle. And I think the title, The Ripple Effect, really tells us about the ripple effect of a suicide attempt and who's affected and how they're affected. And he does some interviews with his family and close friends and others. And then that ripple effect of anyone in the community just being that caring, genuine person that can reach out to anybody that is struggling and say, I've noticed these things and I see that you're struggling and I want to help you because I care about you, and how that can be a ripple effect all on its own. And I thought that was just really powerful, and it gives such a hopeful message for anybody that is struggling with mental health or circumstances that are painful.
Well, you broach a part of the conversation that is always a little difficult, I think, and that is to get into somebody else's space in that way. We sometimes feel as though that's something that we shouldn't violate, Chris is shaking his head up and down here, that there's a barrier there or a screen or a wall, that we can't do that. We shouldn't do it. We might offend somebody. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think in society and the way that we have learned about suicide and how to speak about it, it has really created a taboo. And we've always learned that it's something that you don't talk about, and you definitely don't ask someone about it because you might not want to put that idea in their head. And the research has shown is that as humans, we're just not that easy to influence. And the more direct and open we are with talking about mental health and suicide, we might be able to save more lives if we practice that every day.
Annie, have you seen the film?
Yes, I had an opportunity to pre-screen the film as well. It really followed him around as he's doing more motivational speakers and being a mental health advocate and having personal conversations with not only his family, but from people around the world affected by suicide. So we really wanted to have the opportunity to show it to the community and bring it to the community for free. So both of these screenings are free to the community, free admission to the screenings.
I want to have you, one or the other of you, in a couple of minutes here, repeat the details on the screenings. This is Kevin Hines, the movie, Suicide, The Ripple Effect, to be shown 2 times in early May here in Chautauqua County. But first, Victoria, Chris, Annie, talk to me about resources available locally for people who are in mental distress, might be on the verge of considering suicide resources that are available to those in the community who may know somebody who's at that point. Let us speak to those issues right now.
There is the Chautauqua County Crisis Hotline. This is a free 800 number that anyone can call for themselves if they are experiencing a crisis, or if they have a friend or loved one they are concerned about and need to seek further resources. You can call this number, 1-800-724-0461. Someone will answer the phone, and if needed, a crisis services will be out to reach out to the person who is seeking help.
Sometimes people fear that calling for help means lights and sirens and massive intervention. Victoria's smiling at me now. And something that will be just the opposite of helpful. What happens when someone calls that number?
So a variety of things can happen, Dennis. A trained, licensed professional on the other end of the phone can just have a discussion. How are you feeling? What's going on here? And really do a assessment over the phone to find out the level of risk and planning that they are talking with someone who might be considering suicide. They can also provide resources and referrals to other supports in the community if that person isn't thinking of suicide, but they are under mental distress and may need some additional emotional support. Sometimes a visit to the home is necessary, where some more intimate support can be given with some other assessments and screenings. So it really depends on the person and their particular situation. We also have a national suicide prevention lifeline that can easily be found through Google. There is a text crisis line as well, because sometimes a phone call is very hard to make and admit that we are struggling. So there is a New York State text, actually it's a national line. And then another resource that we have that I've been trying to let people know about is the Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County Warm Line. So that might not be for necessarily a crisis situation, but there can be some advocacy there, some resources, and that is through Housing Options Made Easy and the Eagle's Nest. So you'll be texting with a peer, someone who has been there themselves, and that text number is 716-392-0252. And there's also a line to call, which is 1-877-426-4373. So that one's a little bit different feel. It's not necessarily for crisis, but maybe you're having a tough day and you want to call or text someone and talk to somebody who's been there too.
Warm Line, it is called. Very interesting. I had not heard about that until this moment. Are there other aspects of the work that you are focusing on right now or in general that you want to bring to our attention before we wrap up today's discussion? Here's Annie again.
I wanted to just mention the partners in bringing this documentary to the community. The Community Alliance for Suicide Prevention, Chautauqua Tapestry, Chautauqua County Department of Mental Hygiene, the Resource Center, Jamestown Community College, and SUNY Fredonia.
Suicide, the Ripple Effect. Kevin Hines, the movie, if you'll allow me to say that again. Give us the schedule one more time, Annie, where people can see this for free.
Yes. It'll be Wednesday, May 2nd, SUNY Fredonia, Kelly Auditorium, refreshments at 3:30, film starts at 4:30. Thursday, May 3rd, Jamestown Community College, Sharman Theater, refreshments at 6 p.m., and the film starts at 7 p.m.
There's a website associated with this film as well that's publicized on your flyers here. I want you to give that one or the other.
Of course, www.suicidetherippleeffect.com. You can go on there and find more information about the film as well as watch a trailer.
Thank you all very much for coming back on the air. It's been very nice to have you here today.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
The first part of Share the Vision today, we talked about the Laurel Hotelling Remembrance Day, which is coming to Silver Creek on the 6th of May, and this will be at the Fireman's Clubhouse there from 2 until 6 p.m. And the second part of our program today, we've been talking about issues related to suicide prevention, and particularly focusing on those two screenings of the film Suicide, The Ripple Effect, featuring the life and story of Kevin Hines. To all who have appeared on this program today, thank you for sharing the vision.